Human factors are about people. The surrounding environment of people. Their lifestyle. The surrounding equipment. People's habits. Relationships. And procedures that affect aviation safety and aircraft maintenance. It could be defined as collective human elements which may lead to an incident or accident. Things that cause a well-intentioned person to make an error. In this video we will examine two case studies. The bizarre Aloha Incident and the Dryden tragedy. Maintenance error most often results from a series of circumstances or a chain of events which interfere with an aircraft maintenance engineer's performance at a critical moment. There are 12 major causes of performance interference. We call them the Dirty Dozen. These are everyday circumstances or events which can cause us to do things we normally would not do. The Dirty Dozen are: 1. Lack of communication. 2. Complacency. 3. Lack of knowledge. 4. Distraction. 5. Lack of teamwork. 6. Fatigue. 7. Lack of resources. 8. Pressure. 9. Lack of assertiveness. 10. Stress. 11. Lack of awareness. And 12. Norms of the workplace. In other words, shortcuts taken to get the job done. As you may have noticed, some of them have to do with our physical condition and personal state of mind when we are on the job. While watching the case studies, think about the Dirty Dozen and the series of circumstances which contributed to the Aloha Incident and the Dryden tragedy.
It's a passenger's worst nightmare. 1 minute, this Boeing 737 was cruising at 24,000 feet over Hawaii. The next, it had lost 1/3 of its roof. Only one person died in this bizarre incident, but the remaining passengers must have thought their time had come. They owe their lives to luck and a skillful flight crew. Earlier in the day, a passenger boarding the aircraft spotted a small crack next to the door, but was too shy to speak up. As the Boeing reached its cruising height, the skin of the aircraft peeled back like a sardine can. The aircraft was 19 years old and had spent all its life in Hawaii, flying short hops between the islands. But the airline's maintenance men hadn't noticed the effect that the constant takeoffs and landings were having on the aircraft. The metal panels were tugging apart. There were fatigue cracks everywhere. By the end, the 737 was flying on a wing and a prayer.
March 10th, 1989, on a snowy afternoon, Air Ontario Flight 1363 took off and crashed moments later into a densely wooded area less than 1 kilometer west of Dryden's airport. The only surviving crew member was Sonia Hartwick.
And you can smell soot, and you can smell people starting to burn, like the smell of hair burning. 24 people lost their lives that day, and 45 survived. I'm here on behalf of these people. I think they have the right to know families of the deceased, the survivors, my co-workers, and the flying public, the events of the week that led up to this tragic event on March 10th, in hopes to prevent a disaster like this happening in the future.
This tragedy triggered one of the most exhaustive investigations ever conducted into an aircraft accident. The 3-year Dryden Commission, headed by the Honorable Virgil Mashansky, determined that a buildup of ice on the Fokker F-28's wings was only one of the factors that contributed to this disaster. Other factors were inadequate ground procedures, crew stress, corporate pressures, and poor communications between the cabin crew and the flight deck. If someone had spoken up, this catastrophe might have been avoided.
On the previous type of aircraft, the Convair 580, it was not uncommon for them to fly with considerable amounts of contamination on the wing surfaces. Captain Morwood had come off that aircraft. The chief pilot on the F-28 had come off that aircraft. It was pretty well known throughout the company that this was sort of an accepted thing within the company. As a result, going on a new aircraft, perhaps the training not enforcing the fact that the critical wing on the F-28 was supercritical with any kind of contamination. The fact that they had probably done it and gotten away with it numerous times on the Convair over the previous years, that kind of positive reinforcement perhaps led him to believe that he wasn't in as critical a situation as he was.
Over time, the amount of machine-caused accidents has been decreasing, making us more aware of the human causes of accidents. According to Transport Canada, 80% of all aviation accidents are the result of human error. With proper maintenance, today's aircraft are built to fly safely for unlimited time. They are more dependable than they ever were. Today's aircraft are also more automated and more complex. However, the people who fly them, the people who control them, and the people who maintain and repair these complex aircraft are still the same. They are human. Most aircraft maintenance engineers encounter at least one of the dirty dozen every day. So how come more mistakes are not made? Did you ever ask yourself why you do not make maintenance errors? Have you just been lucky? Or did your mistakes get caught in a safety net before they left the hangar? Most often, one of the dirty dozen is not enough to interfere with an aircraft maintenance engineer's performance. However, when they are combined with one of the other dirty dozen, the chance for human error increases. In this lesson you will examine each of the dirty dozen, appreciating how each of them can interfere with satisfactory performance as your first and your best safety net. Awareness means keeping alert when you are at work. Checking your work means continually reminding yourself throughout your shift to work with your rational mind. Awareness means recognizing the fact that like all the rest of us you are human. And like the rest of us, you are not thinking your best when one of the dirty dozen interferes with your performance. Understanding why we make human errors is the first step to building safety nets to catch mistakes before they leave the hangar.